Hello YouTube, Persian here. As I said before, I did the homestead. I'd make some videos as things progress. And here we go. I started clearing out some of this weed satch. Using that carbide saw, it makes a big difference and stuff. Going to eventually rent me a dozer. I want to get a D6 in here. Got plenty of power to knock this stuff out. The only reason I'm doing it by hand is this stuff is just so thick. Two reasons. I'm going to spend most of my time pushing these stuff around, pushing it around, and pushing around. And when you're paying big bucks on a rental, you want to get it done as quick as possible. Second of all, can you imagine what a big biomass of trees pushed into a pile with a dozer would look like? So anyway, the whole thought process is I want to clear out some of the biggest, brushiest weed satch. Get rid of it now, burn it, and it'll just make your life easier when it comes time to bring the dozer in to knock out the stumps and root plow property. Because eventually, like I said, this was once a thriving hayfield. Weed satch took over and they just didn't keep up with it, and this is what you got. This stuff's a major pain. You see, instead of just one tree, they have multiple tree trunks coming out of the same root there, and it just makes for a lot of cutting. Instead of one trunk, cut it and go on. So it's kind of time consuming. And this stuff is thorny. Oh Lord. I don't know if you can see it. There must be something edible on there. Why else would they make it thorny? To keep animals from eating it. Kind of like cactus or pear, and ranchers burn that pear, and cows love that stuff. But that's what I've done so far. So I'm going to create a whole bunch of little mini burn piles. Just have a much better controlled burn instead of have one huge biomass and that thing going up all at once. I bet I'd be sending smoke signals up to outer space. The wood, the wood's actually kind of pretty. Let me get to the big, one huge growth tapped in over here, and I'll show you that wood. Actually, there's some furniture makers actually, as I've read, that will use weed satch weed satch trees for some furniture making. The only problem is, as I understand it, it's hard to get big growth weed satch big enough to make it worth their while. It's like that smaller stuff that you see in the middle of the screen there, and not the old dumb hound dog. I know she's not a hound dog. That's every dog I call is either hound dog or puppy dog, even though their title is incorrect. But anyway, here's this big one that's actually probably been pretty good size of someone woodworking to make something out of it. And here's you can see it's really pretty wood. Alright, focus in there. Got a reddish orange in the center. Oh, milky white cream on the outer part. Anyway, like I said, I'm just going to come out, chop out some of the biggest stuff, because you can imagine how long you'd sit there and fight with something like that with a dozer. Yeah, they can knock it out, but it's going to take you the time. And my whole thing is I need to get this done as cheap as possible. So that's where the old chainsaw and a lot of work comes into. We'll walk down this way and I'll show you what it looks like when the stuff hadn't cut. Like I said, in a way it's kind of shame. It's kind of pretty to walk underneath it, but I'd rather get the hayfield going again and start selling some hay, help cover the taxes and keep the ag going with it. See, here's some a little more thicker stuff. Nice pretty colors. So you imagine just pushing all this stuff in one big pile. Hell, the International Space Station would probably see it from up there. So like I said, the biggest stuff, it's getting knocked down. I'm going to make a whole bunch of mini burn piles soon, and I'll make a video of that when I fight this stuff up. And here's the rest of it. Like I said, it looks real cool. park setting almost. See, like thinner stuff like that, I'm not going to really worry about. That D6 and knock that stuff out without any problem. I might thin some spots out, like I said, just to clear out some of the brush and make it less pushing, much less stuff to push around. It's kind of like after, if y'all ever had an ATV and snow plow in the truck, heavy, and trying to push out a whole bunch of snow, it just piles up and accumulates quick, and it takes a lot more time. And that's the whole thing I want to avoid, since those rentals are pretty expensive. And like I said, it'd be great to start growing hay in there. And with the hay shortage here in the south, hopefully make some money on it. Nice enough to cover the taxes and stuff and the equipment, and be more of a hobby thing anyway, not farming for a living. Property's too small for that. But as you can see, this is pretty thick. That's a lot of biomass knocked down at once and burned at once. Anyway, like I said, I'm doing this slowly as possible, and I'll do the update videos when I can. Alright, everybody take care. God bless you.